You walk into the room. The conversation is mid-air, laughter like bubbles floating upward, eyes darting from screen to screen. You feel it before you even see her, that invisible current. The air changes subtly but unmistakably. Someone just entered who doesn't ask for attention. She doesn't even need it. The room simply tilts in her direction. You know women like this? Or maybe you don't, but you've felt them. She doesn't try to prove. She doesn't overperform. She simply is and composed, alive, present. And suddenly, without announcing herself, she has every eye, every ear. What gives her this gravitational pull? Esther Perel might tell you, it's not dominance, it's erotic intelligence. It's not volume, it's presence. It's not even charisma. It's a profound comfort with self, a cultivated mastery of boundaries, and an acute awareness of others. So how does she do it? Let's begin. 1. She speaks with purpose. You can feel the difference, can't you? There are people who speak to fill the silence. And then there are those who speak to meet it. The woman who commands the room doesn't ramble. Her words arrive like they were invited. You lean in, not because she's louder, but because she's more precise. She doesn't begin every sentence with, I just think, or sorry, but she isn't apologizing for taking up space. Why? Because she's not performing. She's connecting. Her speech isn't a monologue. It's a mirror. When she speaks, you feel she's naming something in you, something unspoken, something real. Her language has edge but not aggression. It cuts through distraction like glass cuts light. Esther Perel often speaks of the power of presence, that ability to be with someone in conversation, not just talking at them. This woman embodies that principle. She considers before she speaks. She's intentional, not impulsive. She's not afraid of pauses. She lets them linger, understanding that silence can be the most commanding voice in the room. And her tone? Measured, grounded. She doesn't rise with the pitch of insecurity. Her words don't reach for approval. They land because they don't beg for it. They don't just talk, they deliver impact with every sentence. You may not remember everything she said, but you remember how you felt when she said it. That's the real legacy of purposeful speech, not just the message, but the emotional imprint it leaves behind. 2. She masters her body language. Before you speak, you enter. And before you enter, your body speaks on your behalf. The woman who commands the room knows this. She is fluent in that first language, posture, eye contact, the architecture of presence. She walks in as if she belongs. Not arrogantly, but unapologetically. Her spine speaks before her mouth does. There is nothing shy about her shoulder line. She doesn't shrink, hunch, or hide in her own frame. She takes up space like she earned it, because she knows she has. And her gestures? Not flailing, not stiff. They flow like extensions of her thoughts. Intentional, not excessive. She touches her words with her hands, sculpting meaning in the air. And you believe her more because her body believes her too. Then there's the eye contact. You feel seen, not interrogated, not scanned, seen. Like your presence matters. Like she's not just waiting for her turn to speak. Like you're the only person in the room, even though you both know you're not. This woman doesn't fidget. She doesn't cross her arms like a fortress. She doesn't retreat behind her phone, or her coffee cup, or her self-doubt. She stands like someone who knows herself, or at least is curious enough to try. Her physical presence is not just posture, it's poise. And poise, as Esther might say, is erotic in the broadest sense. It awakens attention, desire, respect. It is the art of showing up without needing to overshadow. 3. She dresses with authority. Let's be honest. We read people before they open their mouths. And this woman knows that. But she doesn't dress to impress. She dresses to express herself, her energy, her message, her mood. Her wardrobe is not a costume. It's an exoskeleton of self-respect. Whether it's bold or minimalist, fitted or flowing, Every choice is intentional. There's a through line in her style. That tells you this is not someone you can easily categorize. She might wear a structured blazer over vintage denim, or monochrome layers that whisper instead of shout. Either way, you can tell she thought about this, not to please you, but to align with her, because she understands the politics of the visual. She knows how clothes can distort or amplify your voice. She doesn't let the outfit speak louder than the message, but she lets it reinforce it. She knows that presence is a multi-sensory experience. Color, texture, silhouette, these are all part of how she enters the world. Authority doesn't always wear heels. Sometimes it wears worn boots. Sometimes it wears red lipstick. Sometimes it wears no makeup at all. But it always wears self-knowing. And when she walks in, whether in boardroom, blacks or expressive prints, you can feel it. This isn't just fashion. This is armor, art, and autobiography. She listens, actively and intelligently. Here's the twist. Women who command the room don't always speak the most. Sometimes they listen more than anyone else. But not passively, not nodding politely while waiting for their turn to talk. No, this kind of woman listens with her entire body. Her face mirrors your emotion. Her questions open doors you didn't know were closed. Her silence doesn't judge, it holds. Esther Perel calls this quality erotic intelligence. The ability to tune into the nuances of another person is experience without losing the signal of your own. It's rare. It's magnetic. This woman listens to understand. She paraphrases, she asks sharp follow-ups. She doesn't hijack the conversation. She doesn't make it about her unless it truly is. You come away from conversations with her feeling clearer, like something tangled inside you just got named. She doesn't fix you, she reflects you. And in that reflection, you begin to see your own value more clearly. This is command without control, influence without intrusion. This is the kind of woman who doesn't need to win the argument, because she already won your respect. You've begun to feel her presence, not just as a woman who speaks with clarity, who enters with poise, who dresses with intent and listens like she was born to understand. But there's something else beneath all that, something sharper, more unsettling. She doesn't just captivate. She protects her energy. And that's when you realize she is not open to everyone. She's selective. Not cruel, not cold, but boundaried. She moves through the world with an invisible architecture around her. Not a wall, not a mask, but a frame. A clarity of what enters her world and what does not. And you begin to see 5. She sets boundaries without apology. You've been taught, maybe without even realizing it, that a nice woman makes space for everyone. That she doesn't say no. That she smiles even when uncomfortable. That she absorbs what she doesn't deserve just to keep the peace. This woman unlearned that. She doesn't confuse kindness with self-erasure. She doesn't confuse openness with overexposure. She doesn't confuse femininity with submission. Her boundaries are not defenses. They're declarations. No, I'm not available at that time. No, that tone doesn't work for me. No, I won't take responsibility for someone else's discomfort. But here's the difference. She doesn't weaponize her no. She doesn't slam doors. She closes them with care. She's not aggressive, she's anchored. She can say the hardest truths without needing to punish. She can walk away without needing to win. Esther Perel often says, "The quality of your relationships depends on the quality of the boundaries you set." This woman lives that truth. Every no she offers is a yes to her dignity, her energy, her clarity. And when she does say yes, you trust it. Because she's not saying it to be liked. She's saying it because she means it. That's rare. That's powerful. That's unforgettable. 6. She stays calm under pressure. Picture it. The tension spikes. A voice raises. Someone interrupts her mid-sentence. An accusation floats in the air, just loud enough to sting. Most people flinch. Some retaliate, others retreat. But her? She doesn't blink. Not because she's detached, not because she's unfeeling, but because she knows herself so deeply that no storm outside her can disorient the compass within. She has composure, not as a performance, as a discipline. A nervous system trained through years of knowing. I don't have to match chaos with chaos. When everyone else is reactive, she becomes even more still. You've seen it. That eerie kind of calm that isn't passive. It's potent. That kind of emotional gravity that slows everything down, that forces people to pay attention because she isn't escalating the noise. She's grounding it. She doesn't silence her anger, but she also doesn't let it hijack her. She doesn't pretend she's not hurt, but she refuses to bleed out in public. Her self-respect remains intact, even when others lose theirs. Esther would call this erotic maturity, not the heat of impulsive reaction, but the slow burn of restraint, of choosing your expression, not being possessed by it. Command doesn't mean control, it means composure. This kind of calm is not genetic. It's built through heartbreak, through negotiation, through long nights of learning. The difference between reacting to survive and responding to lead. This woman doesn't avoid conflict. She knows how to host it. 7. She brings others in, not down. Here's the final truth, maybe the most important. This woman, the one who commands the room, she doesn't do it by diminishing others. She doesn't intimidate with ego. She doesn't dominate with noise. She elevates with presence. She doesn't demand submission. She invites connection. You feel safer around her. Not because she's soft, but because she's solid. Because you know she's not performing for your approval. And because of that, you can stop performing too. She makes you want to rise, not to compete, but to become. She compliments without flattery. She notices without needing credit. She makes space for voices that are often muted. Because she doesn't hoard attention, she expands it. And when she disagrees with you, it's surgical, not savage. She challenges with care, not cruelty. She doesn't need to win every point, because she's playing a deeper game. This is what Esther Perel might call relational authority, the ability to hold power with others, not over them. To know that real influence doesn't come from being above the group. It comes from being inside it, attuned and fully awake. This woman understands that command is not a monologue, it's a symphony. And sometimes, the most powerful thing you can do is step back and let someone else solo. That's not weakness. That's legacy. You're not just watching her now. You're beginning to ask yourself, where am I silencing myself? Where am I giving power away? Not because someone took it, but because I never claimed it? You don't just admire her. You're starting to remember that she is you. Once you choose her, you've now seen her habits. You've felt her power. And if you're honest, a quieter voice starts to speak in you. Not just awe, not just admiration, envy, longing, fear. Because the woman who commands the room does not move through life untouched. She might be composed, but she has bled. She might set boundaries, but only because they were once broken. Her presence wasn't gifted. It was forged. And what no one tells you is this: to hold presence like that, to command without control, to lead without apology, it costs something, and the world doesn't always reward it. The hidden tension of power. Let's speak plainly. A woman who walks into a room and owns her presence, with clarity, style, intelligence, restraint, boundaries, is often misunderstood. Not always admired. Not always applauded. Sometimes, she's feared. Sometimes, she's judged. Sometimes, she's lonely. You've felt this, haven't you? The subtle freezing of the air when you speak with authority, the way a room gets quieter, not because you're wrong, but because you dared to sound certain. The looks from women who were taught to shrink. The defensiveness from men who were taught that confidence should only look one way. Esther Perel speaks of the contradictions we carry. The desire to be powerful and the desire to be loved. The yearning to be fully expressed and the fear of being cast out for it. That's the wound beneath command. You don't just have to learn how to take up space. You have to learn how to survive being seen. The emotional architecture of presence. Because what you now realize is this: the 7 habits aren't tricks. They're emotional disciplines. You don't speak with purpose just because you read a communications book. You speak with purpose because you've lived through the ache of being dismissed, misunderstood, ignored, and you've trained your voice not to tremble. You don't master body language because a coach told you to stand tall. You master it because you remember what it felt like to hide. You dress with authority because you've known how it feels to be reduced to your looks. And now, you refuse to be defined by anyone's gaze but your own. You listen deeply not because it's polite, but because you know how rare it is to feel heard. And you vowed never to withhold that gift from another. You set boundaries, not because you're rigid, but because your softness was once mistaken for a door. You stayed calm under pressure because panic used to rule you. And now you've learned how to breathe inside the fire. You bring others in because you know what it's like to be left out. Spoken over, erased. This kind of presence? It's not performance. It's reclamation. It is taking back the parts of yourself you once believed you had to give away in order to belong. Romantic power and emotional risk. Esther Perel's genius lies in reminding us that the personal is political, that your power at work is not disconnected from your power in love, that the woman who commands the room is often the same woman who, in private, struggles to be held, not just physically, but emotionally, because power can isolate, confidence can intimidate, presence can attract admiration, but block intimacy. Have you ever dated as this woman? Have you ever seen the way men desire your light but retreat from its heat? Have you ever watched someone fall in love with your strength, only to resent it later? You are not too much. You are just not for those who require you to be less. But still, it hurts. To be seen as captivating but not kept. To be adored but never fully understood. To be admired for your fire, yet punished when it burns too brightly. Perel often explores this contradiction, that many women are taught to choose between being desired and being respected, between being powerful and being partnered, between being visible and being safe. But the woman who commands the room refuses that false binary. She no longer chooses between her fire and her softness. She refuses to fragment herself to be palatable. And that's erotic. In the truest sense. Not sexual. Alive. Awake. Embodied. What it actually takes. So let's tell the truth now. It takes courage to live like this. To show up without shrinking. To risk being seen, misunderstood, desired, envied, dismissed, and still choose to stay visible. To speak when your voice still shakes. To walk tall, even when your past taught you to hunch. To say no without a novel of justification. To say yes only when your entire body agrees. It's not a trick. It's not a habit. It's a way of life. A risk again and again to be who you are, not just who you're expected to be. Commanding the room isn't about superiority. It's about sovereignty. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better at being yourself. A quiet rebellion. Every time she walks in, tall, grounded, whole, she is defying centuries of conditioning. She is not saying, "Look at me." She is saying, "I'm not hiding anymore." And that message, it lands. Because when one woman commands the room with dignity, others remember they can do the same. It is contagious. It is revolutionary. You've come this far, not as an observer, not as a fan of the powerful woman in the corner, the one who glows with presence and glides on self-possession. You're here because some part of you knows she is you. Maybe not fully. Maybe not yet. But inside you there is a voice, not the loud one that apologizes, not the scared one that censors, not the obedient one that waits. The other one, the voice that doesn't rush, doesn't tremble, doesn't beg. The voice that says simply, "I am here." This is the voice that commands the room. And you didn't lose it. You just stopped listening. So now we turn inward. This isn't about becoming her. It's about returning to you. You may have thought this journey was about learning how she does it, how she speaks, how she walks, how she dresses, how she listens, how she says no, how she holds herself still in chaos, how she draws others in. But now you understand those are not steps. They're symptoms of something deeper. She is not your destination. She is your reminder. Because you were never meant to be small. You were never meant to dilute yourself. You were never meant to contort into whatever shape the room required. You were meant to enter fully, to be received as you are, to be remembered not for the noise you made, but the truth you embodied. You were meant to matter, and you still do. Where do you begin? You begin with discomfort. You begin with doubt. You begin with the question, what have I been hiding in order to feel safe? And then breath by breath, you reclaim it. You speak even if your voice is rusty. You straighten your spine even if it trembles. You wear what reflects you, not what flatters a narrative. You listen without filling space. And you allow yourself to be listened to without performing. You say no. You say yes. And you say I don't know with the confidence of someone who doesn't have to pretend. You learn to hold your own gaze in the mirror, to admire yourself, not for perfection, but for integrity. You begin to command your own room, the room of your mind, your emotions, your relationships, and slowly you realize something radical. The room was never the boss. You are. Esther Perel's final invitation. Esther Perel teaches that our ability to connect with others is rooted in how deeply we connect with ourselves. She doesn't teach you how to impress. She teaches you how to relate. With authenticity, with complexity, with erotic intelligence, that is, with aliveness. The woman who commands the room isn't better than anyone else. She is simply in contact with herself, her desires, her limits, her longings, her power. And because of that, she creates space around her, not a vacuum, a field. You want to be near her, not because she demands it, but because she embodies something your nervous system craves. Coherence, honesty, safety, vitality. This is not charisma. This is congruence. Her inner and outer worlds match. She doesn't wear a mask. She wears truth. And you can too. The romantic human condition. At its core, this is not about habits. It's about the ache we all carry, the longing to be fully seen without having to disappear, the yearning to be powerful and loved, respected and soft, whole and held, to walk into a room and not ask, do they like me? But instead, am I bringing all of me in? We ache to belong, not to others, but to ourselves. And women who command the room, they've remembered how. Not because life made it easy, but because at some point it became unbearable not to. Your turn. So now it's your turn. To take the long way back to yourself. To speak without rushing. To walk into rooms with your whole story behind you. To dress like your skin matters. To say no like it's sacred. To hold your ground when the earth shakes. To welcome others with clarity, not codependence. To protect your peace like a lover. To stay present, even when it would be easier to disappear. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be the smartest. You don't have to be the most stylish. You just have to be fully here, wired to your truth, rooted in your worth, curious, awake, real. You don't have to command the room with fire. You can command it with stillness. The room is waiting, not for your perfection, not for your polish, not for your curated self. It is waiting for your presence. And when you enter, not with performance, not with apology, but with integrity, something shifts. The temperature changes. The rhythm slows. The room remembers what it feels like to be grounded. Because you walked in, not seeking permission, not seeking applause, just simply, irrevocably, being you. And in doing that, you give everyone else permission to do the same. That's not just command. That's liberation. That's legacy.